Okay, I'm going to save. Save. Damn, hear this music. Okay. It could technically make a peephole. Wait, can I check this thing? Oh, you can't. Oh. Oh, what the hell? Oh, those vicious teeth look like they could rip through almost anything. They're good, aren't they? They're made of a special alloy I developed just for this job. The cutter rotates 10 times per second, so it can get through any kind of door in no time at all. And what are the two parts on the top there? Oh, those are for attaching hinges to the section of door that gets cut out. Right, of course. Nothing can match this machine for power. What? For power, it can make mincemeat of even the toughest of doors. I think she's trying to allude that maybe she used it. She said she used it? She used it to make a hole in the door? It sounds so charming and friendly when you say what it's for, but it feels like the reality of the cat Flapple-Bat is that it's a grim weapon of door destruction. Wagaha is so adorable, there's nothing I wouldn't do for him, even developing deadly weapons. Okay, so supposedly she used it to make a peephole for some reason? Maybe this one? Because where was the peephole? If she made an extra door, maybe he got confused? Why did she use? She said she used it, right? That's what she said? That she actually used this thing? Maybe it's this in the peephole. Should I save again? I already saved before, so this. What on earth is that eccentric contraption, Council? Oh, it's my cat Flapple-Mat, my lord. It makes a way for cats to get in and out of a room. It can cut through any door you can think of and make a new little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please without their owners. But I'm sure we can all work that out for ourselves. But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there was no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function another way, then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon? A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Windibank had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us were together, and it's recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did? What? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much in my testimony. How else could I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Yes, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. What? No. This is a farce. Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place by my judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions. This is a most serious act of vandalism, for which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Skulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Grayson's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, that peephole did not yet exist on the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Order! Is there any credence in this revelation? None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly! This is just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. Do you seriously expect people to believe that plaything can cut through a solid wooden door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy, cooey, it's time for dinner. I completely forgot we brought the cat. Well, young lady, this is the Old Bailey. One does not make cat flaps in the oak paneling at the Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at Windibanks was made by your machine. And there's no way you can prove that it was. No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps my cat Flapomat creates are all a fixed size. The dimensions of the peephole at Windibanks are an exact match. Old Silky's lost for words. I still don't understand what she used it for, though. Like, why did she use it? Like, did she use it to see? Did she use it for herself? Like, that's the thing that I'm, like, trying to wrap my head around, because she's the one who used it, and I still don't understand why she used it. But whatever. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are a perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. Oh. What is the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Van Zykes? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. There is no proof. Oh! Like, damn it, Susato. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. What? Indeed that is so, Lord Van Zykes. Well, counsel, don't give up now, Runo. This is the time to create your own opening and force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Susato was the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well. Counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim made. Proof that the peephole in the door of Windibanks was created after the event and not before. Maybe there's a picture? Wait. Oh, there is one in this picture. Wait, was there no peep? There was no peephole before? What the fuck? It's this one. I didn't even realize because he was the one who used the damn thing. Wait, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening? It's like some weird Mandela effect. I could have sworn there was a peephole there before. That's so weird. Now I'm like, what the shit? The defense believes this is all proof well. Oh, but it was there. But it was there. Was it not that picture? There's literally a before picture and an after picture. Oh, maybe I was supposed to show this picture. It might have been this picture, right? This was before it took place. Oh, here then. There's. I might have gotten the pictures confused. Okay, here there's no peephole on this door. On this one. Here. So what are you? A print from that detective's infernal cameras again. My judicial assistant, Miss Susato Mikotoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print. See, look, I knew it was like, I had the right idea, I just showed the wrong one. Like, oh, this one doesn't have a peephole, this one does. Like... This print shows a scene in the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. And it also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defenseless broker. But more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. This really is quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. What the fuck? How did I know? How did I not realize? Man. And it was there too. We probably could have figured this out way earlier too, if I if I actually used my brain. But then again, it was such like a weird detail. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Oh, here we go. Breakdown. Breakdown. Oh, it's not as crazy as like the Von Karma breakdown is probably the craziest one I ever seen. That and the dude like choking himself in like that first trial and in the second one. I am satisfied that the defense has substantiated its claim beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely foul. English is not the language for me. Fallacious, I think. Fallacious. I'm trying to like sound it out, but then it's like, no, that's not a word. Fallacious is a word, though, I think. That's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. But more importantly, good lord, there's more Lord Van Zykes? The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury, but that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene, it's true. And I was shot in the arm, it's true, but that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please. No. I don't believe this, but they're right. As it stands now, I don't have any definitive proof that he is the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris, you know what they say. There's no point locking the cat's door after the cat is bolted. Isn't that right, Bruno? As Hurley always says, one lie begets another. No, wait, that might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there is a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What? This is provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court? Explain this alleged inconsistency. Iris was right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency revealed by the lies in the witnesses' statements, they show that Mr. Graydon had knowledge of something that he shouldn't have known about. Namely, the peephole that couldn't have fucking been there before, right? The point is not that you lied in your... the point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you knew of the existence of the peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously, Oh. Has the cat got your tongue, witness? The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred. And once I returned to the shop, having failed to catch the two burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windibanks constantly, carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Well, yes, of course. The place is chock full of pawned articles, and my lads have to thoroughly examine them all. So I gave the order to have officers working around the clock in shifts so we get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the peephole in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable. And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain that he witnessed the crime take place through the peephole in the door. How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, Lord Van Zykes? Speak, Inspector. It's just that I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, so if it's all the same to you, permission denied. Oh. It's not all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes. Of course, sir. Mr. Graydon. Oh, sorry, my controller just kind of died there. You shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed about it by somebody else. Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications. Yes, but the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Graydon claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. And in fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person that could be... Who is the person? It's probably the inspector. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna save. Just in case. It's probably him. The truth is, it can only have been you, Inspector Gregson. Me? You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it only during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for his testimony were made with great urgency during our hour-long recess. While the police executed the subpoena and brought the man here from the communications station. And until that time, Mr. Graydon would have had no idea, no inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such time as he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Until then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the people. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position, that he would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. You're suggesting to the court that it was while this trial was in progress that he received the information, so that he could commit perjury in order to save his skin? Exactly. And the only person with the knowledge of the investigation that he had any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson. This is a bloomin' outrage. Why would I be giving away details of our investigation to this fella, eh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery, which means the first time these two laid eyes on each other was after the proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view in the stand, where such illicit discussions couldn't possibly have occurred. They were just talking, though. They were just being sus in the other thing. When I was talking to her, they were like talking to each other. They were whispering. Ooh, I just remembered something, Bruno. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Oh yes, now that you mention it, when the bailiff was dispatched to retrieve McGilda's music box from the scene of the crime. Oh, that's it! It was during that testimony. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Graydon and the inspector seemed to be having some kind of secret discussion. It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon the information he needed then. Oh, you little toe rag, you're making this all up. Or you're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke? Admittedly, you wouldn't have had any reason to do something like that for no gain, but perhaps it was part of a deal of some kind. Then it starts to make more sense. What deal, counsel? I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene, Mr. Graydon agreed to give a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that, if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness would be considered a gross case of malfeasance. Well, it's becoming clear that jumping in with accusations is this Nipponese student's specialty. I don't do that. But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of this diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing that the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof. So what did he want? Maybe the music box thing, or the disc, because that's what Gregson was like really after, wasn't he? Like, oh, I'll take that. Oh, no need to use it for anything. I'll just keep the. It's for investigating. If Inspector Gregson really did strike a deal with Mr. Graydon, then logically there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Or like a separate item that was kind of involved. Bruno, do you think it could be... Yes. It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. It's true, and the code! Because the code, we didn't explain that it wasn't the guy's blood, which I guess doesn't matter at this point, but now it kind of matters that we remember it. I must press you for an answer now, Counsel. What evidence explains this alleged deal? Oh, we don't even have the code, so... Like, he wanted... I'm going to go with the disc, because he really wanted the disc. Inspector Gregson, besides this murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case? What are you getting at now, Sunshine? Is it possible that this other top-secret case is what's alluded to in this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. How the bleeding Nora could you... We discovered during the course of this trial the music box deposited at Windibanks by Magnus McGilded. Oh, whatever. I thought it was like a continued sentence. A special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in McGilded's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing those secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the disc for details of the case. You little... Wardar. On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windibanks, you said this. I'll be taking that. Yeah, exactly. See, he came in real quick with this. Yeah, I'll be taking that. Whatever it is. So hand it over. It's mine. Scotland Yard already knew at the time. Isn't that right? That Magnus McGilded was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. Blimey, not likely. I mean, I wasn't that sure of it myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness? To aid and abet this man in giving false testimony? There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known of the existence of a peephole. It's the only explanation. A deal was struck between these two men. No. If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this courtroom? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What? What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly, he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Good gracious, then you mean to say Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? He has the second disc actually on his person? The defense demands that the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was testifying before, and Gregsy hasn't moved from the witness stand since. My lord, please, order an examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector? This young lad wants to tone down his... This young lad wants to tone down his imagination. He's insulted me and my profession quite enough. However, if it'll put this matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's going to agree? I presume you're aware of the precipice on which you now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following the searches of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service. This trial will end, and my country's government will formally demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. That sounds serious. Indeed. To have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook. Hey, you're just threatening Runa because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences. It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it, but somehow something doesn't feel quite right here. Very well, counsel. You know the implications, so let me ask you one final time. Yes, my lord. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search? I get the feeling now that it's like, since he agreed, it's probably not on him anymore. The other two were up there too, right? With them? Maybe not at the time of the deal though, but it could have been after because they were still on the stand together, right? All four of them? So it could have been one of them. Here, let's search somebody else. Yes, the defense formally demands the search be conducted. Well, don't say you weren't warned, but your typical Nipponi stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I've got nothing to hide. Very well then. Bailiff. The defense demands a search, but not of Inspector Gregson. What? Now what's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? Oh yeah. I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector, not you. Somebody else. What's the meaning of all this, eh? Lost it at last, have you, sunshine? The court shouldn't have to put up with this nonsense. You're being completely irrational. Be quiet, all of you. Bruno's doing what you all told him to do and having the courage of his convictions. So you should respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction and eagerly awaits his next words. You what? You what? Now don't be hasty, my lord. If I'm not mistaken about things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly sure that I know who has the disc at the moment. There's only one person. It's probably the dude next to him, right? The green Luigi. Well, I forgot his name. The green guy. Should I save? I'll save. Because he's the one standing next to him. Could hand it off to him real quick. Search this dude. Of my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin. Well, I never. Him. Very well then, bailiff. Restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his personal effects. Please, my lord. Inspector. Scotland Yard has to object to this search. Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight here. In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object. But Lord Van Zykes, I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. bailiff carry out the search. Now hold on a mo. I done know nothing. Nothing about no disc. Cut it out. Here, my lord. In the witness's pocket, I found this. Good lord, that's another music box disc. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing. That is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not, Inspector Gregson? Order! Mr. Skulkin, what have you to say for yourself? Gordon Bennett, I mean, just Gordon Flamin' Bennett. Who's Gordon Bennett? I swear I don't know nothing about that disc, honest to God. Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck was between this witness and this detective, no? Without question, my lord. Then, for pity's sake, why on earth was this man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information? Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure. But that one... Oh, that's true! He must have, slipped it in his pocket or whatever when he was, choking him out. When he was choking him out that one time. I completely forgot about that, too. Damn. I don't recall what unusual behavior when he was squaring up with him. It was, yes, during my cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc? I admit to nothing of the sort. And he's choking him out. He's not really choking him out, but he's like, what the heck is this? The inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by his coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, he did and all. Thought me noggin was gonna fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I'd been bored as my brother, I was. And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that? I ain't got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me whistle like that and started shaking me. Why the blazes didn't you mention the third gun when you got down to the station? That's what he said. He yelled it right in my ear hole, he did. My head's still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved then was extremely out of character. But looking back now, it must have been that he did it. Then that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself in order to hide the disc. Well, bless my wig, he hid it. But I'm afraid I fail to comprehend the motive here. If the detective had acquired the disc he was after, why on earth would he then proceed to hide it in another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. Why ever not? As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions. My orders were recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry and do it on the QT. Strictly hush hush. Hush hush? A top secret assignment, is it? As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from confidential government communications. It would seem that if that information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under direct orders from the ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there was a chance that you may be searched here in court, you took steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness. Does this mean he only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him to slip the second disc into his pocket? So it was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit the accusation made against you of this alleged deal? Admit to it? Yours truly? Please. Mr. Graydon? Clearly, our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed that disc to the inspector. But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit, so sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder? Leaking government secrets? Striking a deal with a detective? All of it is this young Eastern man's fancy. I have no idea what any of this is about. You what? Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as a Scotland Yard inspector, I will declare this and nothing more. I am acting in the best interest of the country. Whatever I've done, it's been in the name of justice. So, as members of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guiding light when you're making your decisions. This is quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness. Damn. How many U's do you want in a word? Like, sheesh. In the concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leanings. Well now, as a fellow servant of Queen and country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idol. Stop. Detective has very much trust in eyes. More than this, I cannot say. I don't believe it. These 6 jurors they're going to believe Gregson if they declare their decision now. Is Ginny going to be found guilty? If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're going to lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets, or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, counsel, I think it's time I impose on the jurors to declare their final decisions. No, that is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court. If I let the judge call on the jurors to announce their leanings, Gina will be found guilty. So there's no choice then, Bruno. You have to throw some more evidence at them. This is it now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against? I guess you could technically do either or. I guess we'll do him. Mr. Graydon, there is one final piece of evidence I would like you to see. Can I do it now? Hold on. If I have both, right? Aw, hell no. Aw, hell no. How do I... What did I just... Oh, maybe because we didn't get... I didn't even realize we didn't even get the second disc. I was like, oh, we should listen to both discs, but I only have one still in my record. So I'm like, oh, hell no. Whatever do you intend to show me now? You'll be wasting your time. I have nothing left to lose. I assure you, I will admit to nothing. This is my last chance. It looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence. I guess the music box disc. Here, you want this. Is that Mr. McGilda's music box disc, counsel? Yes, the first disc of 2, which has already been placed in Mr. McGilda's special music box, ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time... with the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well. Goodness, this disc, Council? No! Wait, I can't let you do that. Why not? Because it's got nothing to do with this case. That's why. Not true, Inspector. The defense has already proposed that the sounds heard by the court earlier from what the hell is this? What the hell is this sentence? It's not clicking for me. From this music box were a part of a Morse code message. We know that Morse code comprises of 2 distinct tones. The defense believes that the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. For crying out loud, Sunshine, we're talking about state secrets here. If you go letting the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? That in order to protect those state secrets, you engaged in unlawful dealings with the witness? You're mad. If you let that secret information out into the public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot. Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leaked confidential case details to a witness. That you continue to lie in court, and all because, by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare. I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. My lord, if you please, the court must hear the sounds made by that music box. Oh, come on, Van Zykes, for Pete's sake, stop him. Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. Oh. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth. By fair means or foul. No! Very well, the defense's stance here and that of the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to this music box is... The court will now listen as this music box is set in operation once more. This time with the second disc in place and both discs playing simultaneously. Oh, listen to that. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. Hold it. Alright, I admit it. Whatever you want. But for the love of God, shut that bloomin' box up. Now, let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector? I did. Stop! What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess, and we were stood here in the stand together, that's when he approached me with the deal. Shut up, you imbecile! Shut up! Hey, you there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbroker the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector, with me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. Or information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I couldn't let that information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door and the bloodstains on the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. But then it turned out the peephole had only been made that night, after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime, namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windebank. You... Traitor! What is this? Bailiff, restrain that man at once. That's it then. It's all over. I despised my life growing up. Those slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole. And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But then you decided to try to sell government secrets? Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums awake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out, with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. Then one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend. Oh god, you're a fiend with a queer talent, so you are. I've money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me little plan now. I was to steal the ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the ministry's communications office, it was a simple enough task. The lure of the devil's offerings, how easy it is to succumb. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing. And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable. By using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right, he was very skilled with his hands. He'd once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code, so I sought out my father again, to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory, a thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason, so I made up a story. I've got some work for you, father. I need some music box discs made. Music box discs, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the score with me. There are two, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had him make the two discs, thereby splitting the information in two. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in 2 separate transactions. The first involved the first of the 2 discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt of the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago? Was the second part of the deal the exchange of the second disc? Yes. I'd sold the man information that way a number of times already, but it seemed he became reluctant to part with his money. But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon, for why was it that on the omnibus 2 months ago, your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself? When I received the 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you'll let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from McGilded. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the discs I had asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of a monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name to exact revenge. Revenge? As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, McGilded brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways, to crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. The trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into a hornet's nest, completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I'd made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in this city willing to do anything you ask. McGilded himself had shown me that fact. Are you saying that I think you have the picture now? After he twisted everything to his favor in this courtroom to ensure that he walked free, I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice that monster deserved. That tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilded's death that day was caused by this man? Everything is ready, sir, if you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe. I hope it's not inconvenient, sir, but there were some changes to the schedule. So that policeman who came to tell McGilded he could examine the omnibus again. That's right, an imposter hired by me. McGilded used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manner of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilded inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death. A spine-chilling account indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. A loose end? Yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken to exchange with McGilded. Oh, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime. When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of the 2 discs and the music box you need to play them. Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for you, young man. What's this? Windibank's pawnbrokery? Aye, 'tis a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for you. There's no need to give it a name. Just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend the watchword. I put a jewel in pawn for you. It'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. I've never heard of a pawnbrokery being used in quite that way before. Have ye not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And that on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Windibank's that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From the trial, that pickpocket's testimonies was clearly peculiar. Anyone could see that. I realized immediately that she was another of McGilded's pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. And he was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went to Windibank's to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilded's overcoat and the 1 disc that was in his pocket. The all-important music box with the 2nd disc inside was missing, because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secrets was progressing, we picked up on the fact that McGilded was involved. Inspector, you recovered fast. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible, so we started gathering the fella's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard, but we had to keep it as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the 2nd disc were still there in the shop somewhere, so I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the music box I sold to McGilded on the shelves of forfeited articles. And the 2nd disc was inside? Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. What are you doing in my shop? Bam! A gunshot rang out in the shop and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun and the bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly, but unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Before I knew what was happening, I'd fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, must have killed him, but unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge. A sorry, sorry tale. It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Winterbanks on that wretched night. Earlier, you called McGilded a monster, a man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony, for what you have done is exactly the same. You become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded. Yes, I think I have. Damn, this shit was so long I might have to actually, like, split this bit. Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial for you and me both. However, it would seem that we have at last arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon? He's been restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Winterbank and the stealing of government secrets. Very good. And you, Inspector, regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself. Yes, my lord, of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains, whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable. Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Yeah? It is time for the final adjudication. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Yes, sir. Garrett Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Muzai!
Muzai.
Muzai! Muzai!
Muzai.
Muzai!
That's the stuff. I'm off the hook. Finally, you finally managed to do it. Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world. Miss Lestrade, I am not finished with you yet. Eh? What? Why are you looking at me like that for? Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider. Eh? 2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Mr. Winterbank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilded's property, it seems. I never done nothing of the sort. Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilded's coat in your cell yesterday or anything. Oh, just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening. And turning our attention to the defense, determining that, when played together, the music box disc contained a message in Morse code was, well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, counsel. Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast to demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. Very sorry about that. It was the only way I could get Inspector Gregson to admit what he'd done, so... If I may say something on that point, isn't that... It's, about the sounds produced by the music box? I do wonder if that was really Morse code. What are you saying, madam? Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact. Goodness, madam, an unhealthy level of obsession one feels. But I must admit that, in my opinion, the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that. A meaningless series of two different tones. What? Can that really be? Like, she couldn't say anything. I guess it would, like, prolong everything. It wasn't Morse code? My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again. Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you those discs contain ministerial secrets, sunshine? This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications. We know McGilda conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man is admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further. Ooh, this is really going to bother me. Miss Lestrade. Yeah, me lord. That which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalog of depravity. An appalling experience to befall any child. Now come on, it ain't nothing I done see most days in the back slums. I beg your pardon? If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you gotta start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself. Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Windebank, proprietor of a pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty. Confetti. What happens if someone's fucking guilty then? Do they just do confetti and fireworks? That is all. Court is adjourned. Fucked. It's so fucking long. On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Oh. Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within that Englishman, and at the same time saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan. We're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom. You did? When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly? Oh god, we have to go through like a whole backstory. Can we wait on it? Fuck! Well, you may ask, and one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Okay, good, no backstory for right now. Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, and my retirement from service 5 years ago, gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again. Please be the end. Please be the end. Please be the end. If it's not the... Fuck! God damn! It's done. It's over. But... where's Iris? Congratulations. I knew it all along. I knew you were innocent. Well, you did what you said, Mr. Nara. Although you believed in me right up to the end. You're as odd as your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you. No one ever has before, you see. Kept a promise, I mean. Properly. That's awful. I figured something out today. All me life growing up in the slums, I never trusted no one. But that's just because I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down. Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make me a fat lot of sense. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me though. I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in. But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. Thanks. Can we finish, please? Damn it! This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I started to feel like I understand what you mean, Kazuma. Am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Fuck, can we just leave? Can we just have credits already? But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? With that voice. It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Yes, it was me all along, I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people, with your incessant babbling, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, it was me all along, you see? I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh. I happened to be aware of 1 or 2 foibles of the doctor who was tending to me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you. Oh, thank you. Some great detective you are. You're great at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade? While you've been having a snooze in your soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives. Well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? And, in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Miss Lestrade. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but... an acquittal in a trial that, with that particular prosecutor, is perhaps a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean? Because anyone who's found not guilty in a trial he was working on ends up dead? Is that it? The very point I was trying to make, and as exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilded, in fact. But of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. Oh, really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like him upstairs. Him upstairs? You mean like God? Yeah, him upstairs knows what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. You won't have got the wrong idea. What? You won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There's some coves like that bog trotter what are rotten to the core. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure they get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like that McGilded's old. In this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see? A trait in you which is to be admired. What the hell? I can't form sentences. Wait, just give it a rest. As I was saying, congratulations. Yes. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. There you are, Hurley. How long you been there? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Oh, Iris, my dear, I do apologize, but wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolts didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it? I'm not sure, really. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day. I'll be careful. Ouch! Anyway, it's such a shame. I was hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight, but you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm going to be going nowhere for a while. You heard the judge's patter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All of them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the bog trotter stuff what was in lug, blah blah blah. Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense. It's a job, isn't it? I don't think so. Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did ya, Odo? Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all of them lot like me from the slums. Something that makes a difference for them. That's a wonderful idea, and I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing. Miss Gina Lestrada, the prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yeah, goodbye, and good luck. Odo? Yes? Ah, what was that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. So, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary. On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh, yes, it's good advice, Ginny. Right, I see. Well, thanks, Odo. Thank you for everything, what you've done, for believing in me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you. Now, can we get on with it? Because Jesus Christ, this was long. Well, there she goes. Oh, I nearly forgot I bought a paper. It's a special edition. This trial's all over the front page. Pickpocket's innocence proven. Isn't this the same day? You should have showed it to Gina Irish. She would have been thrilled. Oh no, how silly of me. Oh, but anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news? Nope, not again. Well, what do you say? They had the bad news. Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news. And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it? Let's not go there. Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. There was a record level of rainfall, apparently. Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news? The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailings out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more. Wait, Dover? That's right, if we head to the station immediately, we may still make it in time to wave Susie off. But there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport. Okay, let's go. Elementary. What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria. Fuck, this is so fucking... Is this a cutscene? No, it's not a cutscene. God damn. That took someone longer than... This bit took longer than anticipated. Jesus. Miss Usato, where are you? Oh, there she is. She's reading her book. Oh, look over there. She's reading something. It's a huge-ass book, girl. Hey, Miss Usato, what are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo, what are you doing here? We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. That's wonderful. Really wonderful news. The book you're about to throw. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now, so I was saying my final farewell. You were saying goodbye to law? You? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Miss Susato? I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. I still don't understand why she did it. Like, was it just to catch the guy? Like, would she really have that? Like, would she know that someone would try to, like, I don't know. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us this little introductory lesson, didn't she? To the art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun. I stole Bruno's armband. Yes, please don't do that again. The band's very important. Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flapple mat, so I put it up my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it until I found myself in Mr. Windibank's shop a bit later that night. I see. And then... After Mr. Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. That door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door? Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. And at that moment, the little device I had up my sleeve sprang into mind. I simply had to know. So you used it to make a peephole? Okay, I'm gonna have to try to like paraphrase all this shit. As captured in a photographic print. Yes, by his camera. Indeed, it was of the first importance at that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be his greatest weapon, though naturally without proof was nothing. But when I looked through the hole in the door, the sight that met my eyes was made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered that the trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister. And then a terrible thought occurred. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windibank, even though I was sure she would never do such a thing. You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her? That's right, but then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case. What do you mean? Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed this, there must be a way to see beyond the door. For which a peephole would be the very thing. Only the peephole I made wasn't actually there until after it was committed, and the criminal wouldn't know that, so it wouldn't make any difference. But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there. A trap? So is that why you kept it a secret? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even the police. I know, and I knew at the time that what I was doing was wrong, a criminal offense even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If he was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the people could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything, but then, why didn't you just tell me everything before? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Oh. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen. If you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. For your sake and Miss Lestrande's. Oh my god, can we finish? When it happened, I did it because I lost what little faith I had in the law. Ugh. Now, what you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the people inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. What you did saved her life. Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo, you saved me too from my regrets. Okay, great. Credits right now. Stop talking. I have stuff to do. Fuck. Well, we must all be thankful for her freedom. Yes, we should. Though some loose ends will continue to play on my mind. But the revelation that the music box disc contains secret messages. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't. There was a communications officer among the jury. And she said it just sounded dumb. She just said it sounded dumb. As one would expect. After all, we were talking about a secret government communication. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. In cipher, I see. So then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pipe problem, I assure you. What? Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you? Mean something? Asogi was the name of my best friend. Nani? The fuck? But how? How do you know that name? I wrote it down during the trial before when the message was playing on the music box. She transcribed it on the fly? Really a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't have been written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it, but whenever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see, there's more than one Morse code. not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added Morse code to use in their own languages. I don't believe it. Are you saying? That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before, but I think it's based on the Iroha pentagram, right? And what you mean to say that Japanese Morse code, the message says Asogi? Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Damn, this girl really does everything. I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important in international communications. Then might I recommend, my dear man, you focus your efforts on the English version? Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message, please. It's probably like a lead-in to the next game, or the next series, because technically these are 2 games in one, but what could this possibly mean? There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese, so the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications. I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names? The first is K. Asogi, Kazuma, Y. The second is A. Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. It's T. Gregson. Gregson? I would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list. And what's his name doing in a secret government communication? And the last name? What's the matter? It's just so strange, so unexpected. What is it? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then after the 4 names it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message, or rather the end of the one you noted down. I just can't believe it. Whoever would have thought? It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. So we could be in Japan then, where Susie and Bruno come from. Oh, well. No, it's not very likely, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson. There must be lots of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson. Sorry, girl, can't disclose that information. Solving the case of Mr. Windibank, I feel like I rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail. Okay, bye, girl. Okay, then I'll change on to a larger passenger vessel for Japan. We wish you safe passage, Miss Susato. Thank you. Okay, bye. I had hoped to have you always at my side to guide me and support me. Please come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really? Oh, now don't forget, Iris, I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. About your manuscript. Oh yeah, that's true too. Well, I'll be waiting. Okay, it's a promise. Okay, bye. Fuck. You remember the first time we met? Yeah, she fucking flipped him. They did the judo flips. If I remember, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Susato takedown. You know very well I'm talking about after that. We're being thrown together as we were in that game. That felt something straight away. That you were the perfect person to continue his great legacy. Okay, great. I really want to know. I'm sure that what? I'll be back soon. Okay, goodbye. If it's a cutscene, I can live with a cutscene. Credits. Okay, cutscene. And then credits, please. At least for this one half of this series.
これでなるほど龍之介最初の冒険の物語はおしまいだ思えば不思議な運命に導かれてここまで来たような気がする
Now, this is just me, but how is it legal for him to have this samurai sword in, like, another country? Like, I guess maybe he made it so he can't, like, draw it or anything. But, like, there has to be some kind of law. Like, maybe he gets reprimanded and reminded, like, every time he goes out, like, hey, yo, man, you keep that in your belt or whatever. You keep it in your sheath.
でもどんな危機だって大逆転できるそんな気がするだって僕には世界最高の仲間がいるのだから
Yeah, all 3 of them. 3 friends. Oh, I guess the other guy went home, right? The Natsume Soseki, I think he went home, right? 3 friends. Oh god, there's more. Oh yes, Mr. Naruhodo. What? Awkward news. Fuck. The railway company has decided to sue? It caused such a commotion, all the other trains had to wait. But really, we would never have made it to Dover on time otherwise. Anyway, I explained that's all your fault. I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office, but don't worry, according to Miss Sato, you love defending yourself in court. Oh, it's alright, I'm perfect. He really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. That's kind of funny. Mr. Sholmes. Yes, a word. Why, certainly. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. Oh, yes, I love his words. Then I really must say, I'd give them like a big fuck you. Oh my god, we're done. Oh wait, there's like an end bit, right? Or I don't know, sometimes there is. Like, I know at the end of, oh, you can pause it. Can you skip it? Skip the credits. Oh, we did it. Oh my god, this went so over schedule. I feel bad. I feel bad. It was our exercise day and we went like an hour over schedule. Like, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. They have little extra things, but I might just do that like after I finish everything, even though I might not remember what the fuck happened. But I think you don't really do anything. They're just little like snippets and stuff. Oh, can he get that cloak? That's a cool outfit for him. Should have given him that one for the second game. Please send me back to the title screen. I dare you. Thank you. Thank you. I did it. At least the one part. Now we're on to the second game.